Oh, you know what I didn't have?
Yes. Okay. Mark, how many touchdowns did you score?
I know. Yeah. Waiting for Kathy. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection to our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who have passed away in our community. Roll call, Mrs. Greer.
Dr. Rothchild?
Here.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Flynn?
Here.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
I make a motion to take from the table resolution number 25 of 2026.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to take from the table Resolution 25, 2026. This resolution is the harb denial of the demolition of the Matt's Law Office building at 324 North Washington Avenue. It's being taken from the table and placed in seventh order tonight for a final vote. Anyone who would like to speak on this piece of legislation may do so in fourth order at citizens' participation. On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it and so moved. Please dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, no business at this time.
Are there any comments on any of the, well, we've received and filed them. Any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a few. One, we have some information from the county that was sent over. One on the new fraud notify instructions for any fraudulent activity happening. I have it here. I'm not going to read it all. It's a lot of information, but it will be outside on the table after the meeting if you want to take a picture of it or grab a copy of it. And the other is Lackawanna County Conservation District's 2026 seedling sale that is now starting. So I'll have the information on what seedlings are for sale, how much, how to purchase them, and that will also be on the table outside after the meeting. The third and final thing I have is something personal I told my aunt I would do. My aunt turned 90 years old last week. My Aunt Patricia Ward, lifelong resident of Scranton, has lived in the Bellevue section her entire life, but 90 is a very big deal. I'm so happy for her, and I just wanted to publicly wish my Aunt Pat a happy birthday. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other announcements at this time?
Yeah, I got two of them. So this Saturday is the parade day. I hope everybody has a great time and stays safe, obviously. But also, the Yucca Vets on Railroad Avenue asked me to announce that after the parade, they're going to have their annual ham and cabbage dinner, $13, or if you want a ham sandwich, it's $5. It's at the American Ukrainian Veterans Association of Lackawanna County. It's on 237 Railroad Avenue. I'm proud to say that my students are helping with preparing the food for this fundraiser for these guys. So if you have a chance, stop by. It's open to the public. And they also asked me to mention that on Sunday, March 29th, they have their annual ham and kibasi raffle. It's from 2 to 5. They have light snacks. If you want to bring some snacks, that's fine. Also, it's the same location, but they have a lot of great raffles, and it's a good time, and it helps with their fundraising. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one. It's the Lackawanna County and the Scranton rail riders invite you to a free groundskeeping workshop. So if anybody's a coach or a team volunteers, there will be a workshop for the tools of the trade for mound care and plate care, infield and game prep, creating foul lines, pretty much everything to do to get the field ready to play on. This will be Sunday, March 29th, noon to 1:30 at the PNC Field in Music.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I have two announcements to make. There is going to be a hop on the trolley with the Easter Bunny. It's Saturday, March 28th and Sunday, March 29th. Trolley departure times are 9:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m., 12:45, and 1:30 p.m. They're going to have rides in the museum. Adults are $15, seniors are $14, and children are $13. There's going to be balloon art and face painting from 10:30 to 2:30. And for reservations, call 570-963-6590. And that's Lackawanna County is having hop on the trolley with the Easter Bunny. Also, this Saturday is going to be the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. The parade steps off at 11:45 at St. Peter's Cathedral on Wyoming Avenue. So all are welcome. Come on in, enjoy the city of Scranton, have fun, and be safe. That's all I have for tonight.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
Our first speaker tonight, Tyler Warden.
Council. I'm here to discuss some issues I have regarding helping the homeless. Again, I know that Mr.Mark McAndrew had a lady come in here and talk about how the shelter is is overall the worst shelter in Lackawanna County, being that it is the only shelter we have for overnight in Lackawanna County. The one main problem I have with the shelter is that they do not allow non-Lackawanna County residents into the shelter, even when they're homeless and they need services. That is a big issue because right now we are facing an influx of homeless individuals coming into Scranton that cannot access that resource. So my one thing I wanted to ask was to make the shelter open for all homeless individuals regarding Lackawanna County status. On top of that, I also had, the thing I want to talk about was on homelessness was the fact that me being a homeless individual and going through, like Mr. McAndrew said, the winter, how bad it was this winter, with how people are struggling and how I have seen being homeless, these people struggle in tents and not have the resources and not have a lot of things that we need. The only one place where you can go now, since the Keystone Mission has closed down, is the CIC, and they are doing their very best to accommodate all the individuals that are homeless in this city. I'm asking, is there anything we can do to open more overnight shelters by using some of the buildings we have that are sitting out here, falling apart, not being utilized? I was in the budget. I know there's a budget for fixing up infrastructure, and I think some of that should go to the buildings that we have in this city that are not being used, to transform them into more overnight shelters to accommodate more of these individuals. And I think that's more important because we are people, we are not animals, we should not be living out in tents. And that's what I have to say on that. Thank you, Council, for hearing my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Joan Hodowanitz.
Joan Hodowanitz, Scranton. The first thing I want to announce is that the Friends of the Scranton Public Library are hosting a bus trip to the Bronx Zoo on Saturday, May 2nd. The bus is going to fill up very, very fast because a lot of people have expressed interest. And if you aren't a member of the Friends, you might want to join because then you get a cheaper price. The trip would cost you only $85, but it's a great way to get out of Scranton. And if you have ankle biters, and carpet commandos or, young ones, take them to see a beautiful zoo. It's a great educational opportunity for a Saturday in May. And you can get more information by stopping in your friendly Scranton Public Library. And that's all I'll say on that. I also understand that Saturday, the parade day, the firefighters' headquarters here on Mulberry Street is inviting the public in to see their historical display from 10 to 2 p.m. It's just another thing, bring your kids to the parade and take them to see, the firehouse and talk to the firefighters. It's great. Maybe they'll even let you blow the horn. So I would. I know you're tired of hearing me ask this, and I'm tired of asking, but what is the status of DPW's collective bargaining agreement?
At this point, I haven't heard anything officially.
Well, I can tell you it's been 434 days since the last contract expired. And speaking of DPW, I know you are scheduling a caucus on April 7th, I guess, with the DPW director on the efforts for that January snowstorm. Is that correct? April 7th? Okay. A couple weeks ago, I remember somebody asking that when you got the report to put it in third order, but it never went into third order. Is that because it's confidential?
No, I don't think at this point it's confidential, but we can get that in the third.
Yeah, please put it in third order, because I think the general public would like to see that document and would probably be interested in that caucus, especially since personnel from DPW came in the other week to basically give their side of the story. So I think this is something we want to pursue, because even though there may be no more snowstorms this season, you turn around twice and it'll be November, December. And so we need to get this right, and which we haven't in a long time.
Frank, just that document is on the website, correct?
Is it on the website?
It's on the website.
It's not in
Also-
third order, though.
No, it hasn't been in third order, but yeah, I misspoke.
I'll
is on
place
the
it in
website.
third order
Where
also.
on the website
On
is
the
it?
city council page of the website.
Under where?
On the city council page of the website.
Okay, I'll look for it, thank you. But I've got to say this, people forget that residents and taxpayers are stakeholders in this city, and that public officials and municipal employees actually work for us. So we have a vested interest in issues like this, and we should not be not given a seat at the table when we ask for it. Also, in fifth order motions, could someone in 25 words or less tell me what was said during that public caucus? A, we couldn't hear back here, and B, about the only words we heard was sustainability and the future. So I'd like to know, what did that group accomplish in 2 years? I agree with Chief Carroll that you can't prove a negative, so that, what may have been accomplished is things that never happened. But still, there should be some specific accomplishments that they can point to in 2 years, other than, we're talking, we're planning, and we're programming, and we're coordinating. You've had long enough. And then in fifth order also, would you explain what's going on with the amendment to the zoning ordinance with regard to the data centers? There's been some confusion. It was in the legals, and then it's not on the agenda. So just let the public know where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike Mancini.
Thank you, Council President Schuster. Good evening, members of council and residents of Scranton. Tonight, the first of several parts, the state of Scranton, infrastructure and safety. I love Scranton. That's why exactly why I'm standing here, frustrated and frankly alarmed. Over the past several years, the gap between the story we tell about Scranton and the reality people live every day has grown too wide. Residents see it every time they hit a crater-sized pothole, cross a crumbling bridge, or worry about walking at night. First, our infrastructure is not just aging, it's in poor and in some cases dangerous condition. Construction costs have shot up roughly 70% since 2021. Residents don't experience the same numbers. The residents don't experience this as numbers on a page. They experience it as closed roads, weight-restricted bridges, detours that kill small businesses, and damage to their cars that they can't afford to fix. Look at our roads and stormwater systems. Water runoff and drainage problems have been ignored for far too long. We all know these are not isolated trouble spots. They are symptoms of a citywide pattern of deferring maintenance until it becomes an emergency. When higher level governments are stepping up to fix the arteries around us like I-81, yet neighborhood streets remain patchwork and unsafe, residents understandably ask, where are our priorities? But again, most Scrantonians don't live on or near Courthouse Square. They walk their kids across chaotic intersections near schools. They wait for buses on streets with no safe crossings, and they push strollers past speeding traffic with no enforcement. We cannot pretend that a beautified downtown area fixes our systematic systems safety issues. Financially, we've been given an enormous lifeline. Scranton received about $68.7 million in ARPA funds. Many residents look around and ask, if we had almost nearly $70 million extra dollars, why are our basic systems, streets, bridges, drainage, and public safety still in such poor shape? Why weren't more of these once-in-a-generation dollars visibly invested in the neighborhoods that have gone ignored for decades? We see large, flashy projects downtown, while long-standing neighborhoods issues get pushed back to the next capital budget or the one after that. We read about big transportation and beltway schemes to speed traffic around Scranton, yet people in the city are stuck with unsafe intersections and unreliable, under-resourced public safety on the streets where they live and work every day. So what do I want from this council? A binding, time-specific plan to address our worst bridges and streets, neighborhood by neighborhood, with clear timelines. When a third-party pave count inspector appears before caucus on May 24th, throw fastballs. Our city cannot afford another softball. Consider an increase in violations for ordinance regarding the pave cuts. Other municipalities who have a utility responsible for storm drain stains fine them for violations against their ordinance. Scranton does not. There are 1,800 storm drains that are the responsibility of PA Water. When you choose to do nothing about these issues, you fail our residents and business owners of Scranton every time. The thought process of not your idea or your question, not your problem, is unacceptable. Scranton does not need more slogans. It needs honest acknowledgement of how far we've fallen since 2021 on basic infrastructure. And they need you to act with urgency and transparency. Residents are paying for it twice, once with their tax bills and again in bent rims, flooded basements, and higher insurance. I'm asking you tonight to stop treating these as talking points and start treating them as emergencies. Fix our streets, fix our bridges, make our neighborhoods safe, use our money and your time wisely. Show us the proof. People of Scranton deserve nothing less. Next week, hub testing for nonprofits and the property assessment. Good evening, Scranton.
Thank you. Up next is Judy Lasky.
Can I put this down? Okay. Good evening, Council. I'm here to address the homeless situation. I live across the street from Weston Field. I see it day in and day out, morning and night. They're allowed to go in from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. Most of the time, I see them leaving around 5:30 in the morning on my Ring camera. I appreciate you giving them a place to sleep, but if it's only -2 to like 14 degrees, I don't see why they can't stay until it warms up at least till about 20 degrees, and why you can't have a police officer over there to stay with them. And I think the city needs to find, like that gentleman said, a building that's not being used in the city that could be possibly occupied by the homeless, where they're not put out during the day. Not only for the wintertime, but you also have to think about summertime. There's heat waves. A lot of them that are over at the homeless, some of them are elderly. One is a veteran. And I think it's disgusting that a veteran, above all people that are over there, a veteran is over there. I do try to help them. I don't want to make this about me, but I can't stand watching out my door and seeing them standing in a line over there. It's freezing out. I did reach out to friends on Facebook for hand warmers, to whoever donated it. Kind of have an idea of who did it. I did hand them out. I did give them some hand warmers because I was in a situation a little over a month ago. I was out in the cold. I was down in Allentown at a venue. Forgot where I parked my car. Was never down there before, and by the time I got to my car, I could not feel my fingers or my toes. I don't know how these people survive in this. I really do not. Some people think that, they're all drug addicts, they're all drunks, they just don't want to get a job. There's one woman over there, she's a younger woman, that now they basically all trust me because I go over there and I do help out with the volunteers that are over there. I'm just going to say I sent some things over there to make them a little happier, whatever. I try to help out with clothing, whatever I could possibly give them. The one girl said, she asked me, she said, do you know where I could get an apartment? I'm trying to save up money. Do you know where there's an apartment that I could get for $450 or $500 a month? And I'm like, oh dear God, I don't know where she was thinking that. But she did tell me that she tried to get a job. And because she is a recovering drug addict, for 15 years, go girl, people take advantage of her. People take advantage of most of them. They wanted, in her quote, unquote, she came up to me, I explained to her that the shirt I have on right now is for my nephew. I wear it for my nephew. My nephew struggled for years with mental health. He did have an addiction, but I was proud of him. He did clean up. He was clean for, I would say, at least 7 years. And unfortunately, last year, he took his life. And these people over there, I connect with them because I know how it is to have somebody treat you like garbage. Like they look at you like you're worth nothing, because that's how my nephew felt. These people trust me. I am willing, if there is some sort of homeless task force, I'm all for it. I'll run it. I don't care. I want to do what I can do to help these people because I don't want anybody else to suffer what I'm suffering and going through losing my nephew because he was a stigma that people think that he was, and he was more than that. And I was proud of him. And I'm proud of these homeless people that are over there because I don't know how I couldn't survive 30 minutes looking for my car without breaking down because I couldn't feel my body. How do they do it? I don't know. God bless them, and that's another thing they tell me. God bless you for everything you do and everything that you do to help us. I'm like, I'm blessed. I have a warm house to sleep in. I have a car. God bless you, because I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you survive without no help. They don't know where to go. The volunteers over there, I do have to say, God bless them, because they're over there. And the DPW workers, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they're over there too with the volunteers. They have to be, I guess, because of, for whatever reason, for safety reasons or whatever. But they did tell me, and I want to let you know, like, don't believe everything you read in the paper either, because the gentleman that I did talk to from DPW, when all those workers called off, they left out that they were working 18 to 24 hours straight. So I want to make sure that that's brought out. But I know I don't want to go over my time, but if there is a homeless task force, I'm all in, because these people don't deserve to be treated the way they're treated, and I don't think they should be kicked out in the morning. There has to be some place in the city that you can put them in. For instance, Bancroft. Bancroft
Thank you, Mrs.
is
Lasky.
closed down, so
Thank you.
just please do what you could do. And like I said, please, you could reach out to me. I'm available anytime to help with the homeless.
Our next speaker is Lee Morgan.
Good evening, Council. Lee Morgan. The first thing I have here is, I was listening to a presentation that was going on here. I couldn't hear a lot, but I thought it had a lot to do with youth. And I just like to say that I know that the Court of Common Pleas is working through issues of custody, and I guess they're trying to change their format. Women researchers seem to believe the solution is more fathers in homes. And I really think that we need a real discussion on all the issues going on, and it should be honest, truthful, straightforward, and should include everything, not just a political discussion. The next thing I have here is 8A. That building at 324 North Washington Avenue is not beyond being salvaged. Somebody remodeled that building. It's built with lime mortar. It probably has drywall inside it and a lot of moisture. So it has a mold problem. It's been closed for a long time. That'd be an excellent place for a women's shelter, and I don't think it'd cost a lot of money to renovate it. Somebody probably insulated it a long time ago, and the building can't breathe because it wasn't designed to be insulated probably, and have drywall put on it, because drywall doesn't breathe and plaster does. The next thing I have here is that I did a motion for reconsideration to Judge Bloom's issuing of a summary judgment for ECTV. And I sat here, or stood here, and spoke about how biased the judge was. And I think that if people want to look at it, it's 3.23 CV 1635, and I've made legal argument as to where the judge made mistakes in his ruling, and they're blatant, and he blocked discovery. So we're going to see what the appeals court says after I file notice on the opposing party. After this motion, they got 30 days. Now, I gave the council a request, okay? And nobody wants to litigate anything, but somebody's got to start doing something, and it's got to start hopefully today. We have a terrible feral cat problem in this city. One animal control officer can't handle that burden. And the women up at NAOG trying to neuter cats are so overwhelmed they don't even have a chance. The Humane Society is so overwhelmed they don't have a chance. Look, we need to hire 1 or 2 people to go out and set cages and start collecting these animals and fixing them, because you've got to get ahead of it. And the whole city's overrun. You just don't see them, but they're everywhere. And something? It has to do with being human. Okay, just like for the homeless, something needs to change. The other thing is the public component needed to come back to ECTV, not for me, but for everybody in this community, because that's what the Congress and Senate created that channel for. And at one time it was run by the Scranton Public Library. There were no problems. That board has to be removed, and something has to be done. to give the citizens in this community a voice. And the last thing is Pennsylvania American Water. They're a monopoly. They're buying assets all over the Commonwealth. Read all the things about them on the stock market and what their projections are for themselves. The council has to send a letter to the PUC and tell them that it's a monopoly, the rates have to be cut, and the city has to use eminent domain to capture that asset. And yes, we're going to have to sell bonds to make it happen. But read the history of Pennsylvania American Water and water in this city from 1866. Residents can't live here if they can't afford the water. And you know something, Council? It's time for you to do something. It's time to make a stand, make some changes, propel legislation as legislators with the mayor, and enhance the life of Scrantonians. That's all I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get you to get moving and do something. I've come here for 40 years, and I've listened to politics. You're capable. You have to take the first step. Try it.
Thank you. Up next, Les Spindler.
Evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident. You know, finally all the snow has melted, and I talked about what happened to my corner a few weeks ago. Last week, since all the snow melted, I really got to get a good look at my corner. The DPW did a beautiful job last year fixing everything that I complained about for probably 20 years now. And in one morning, the incompetent crew that the city hired ruined half of my corner, half the job they did. I gave pictures to Mr. Schuster. I want to know what the mayor's going to do. That company should pay to repair what DPW did. They did a beautiful job from the corner all the way down the front of my house, and they destroyed half of it. I'm sick about it. Next thing. Last week, Tom Coyne talked about this sound system, and I agree with him because I watched the meeting last week. I couldn't make it, and half of what Councilwoman Rothchild said I couldn't hear. But I heard something about the Green Ridge Street Bridge project. Is it going to be done till like November? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The temporary bridge was taken down February 11th. I wrote that date down. From then till yesterday, nothing was done. They started taking the dirt pile away yesterday. That could have been done already. That dirt could have been gone by now. And then there's an eyesore. Once the dirt's taken away, there are these huge steel rusted beams sticking out of the ground. They have to go. Well, that's an eyesore. And then once that's done, I can't see how much more work has to be done. They have to fix the road leading up to the bridge. But there's no way that if they work every day, that could have been done by next month. If they didn't take a month off. I don't know what Pete PennDOT was doing, but they're dragging their feet. I think they should get in here and answer questions why this possibly might take till November to get fixed. It's inconveniencing businesses on Naog Avenue. It's inconveniencing drivers. It's a mess. They weren't there for a month. It's ridiculous. That project could be done in a few more weeks if they didn't sit on their butts for a month. Last week I heard the DPW workers saying how they were low on salt, so they couldn't pre-treat for that snowstorm. Well, 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we had like a light dusting. By the time I got up, my road was wet, and I wouldn't even know it snowed if it wasn't light dusting on my lawn. A couple hours later, I see a DPW truck going by my house, salting the road. The road was wet. It was 43 degrees that day. It wasn't freezing. I said to my wife, why in God's name are they wasting salt on a wet road? And we're low on salt. Who sent that truck out to salt that day? The road was wet. It's ridiculous. Last week, this gentleman said how low they are in salt, and that was just a waste of salt that day. This city is out of control. Next thing. The vehicle I keep talking about is 2005 Far Street. Last time I spoke about this, the police officer was here, followed me out in the hallway. He said that was tagged. He tagged it, he told me. So this will be the last time I'll talk about it, but he said it's a process. The owner passed away. It's a process, but I want to know what happens to those cars once they're towed away. Are they put up for auction, or?
We can find out that process.
Because that vehicle I'm talking about is a nice vehicle. I wouldn't mind bidding on it. Pave cuts. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Sterling Street, North Main Avenue, just past the firehouse. 3 big pave cuts. It's really bad. And then there's ones I spoke about a long time ago. That's 108 South Main Avenue to 114 South Main Avenue. Terrible. And yeah, and then this sound system has to be fixed. It's terrible. And I'm going to leave on a lighter note. I saw this on Facebook last week. How can you spot a drunk driver in Pennsylvania? They're the ones driving straight while everybody else is swerving to avoid the potholes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Marie Schumacher is next.
Good evening, Marie Schumacher from the East Mountain of Scranton. I have to go along with the potholes. It was a couple of years ago, but I came off Seymour Avenue and went north on 307, and the way that is slanted, I hit it wrong, and it only cost me $2,200 to get it fixed. So it is bad. Then also, a little further down 307, and we get to the graffiti, I guess I'll have to say. It was huge. Letters that were there, and I believe they were white and painted. And I want to thank the DPW. They came out, I don't remember if it was yesterday or today, but they took it off. You'd never know that it had been there. So you can take it off, but it doesn't look good until it can be. So, what else? Well, I guess that's it. I think the DPW did a pretty good job with the snow. They did it, I thought, on our Avenue and East Mountain Road. I think they were pretty well done, and I thank them. But it's not 100% yet. So that's it. You would please go after these potholes and do something with the. Well, just with the lookout, that would be nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to address council?
Good evening, Doris Kolosky, Scranton resident. Okay, so first of all, a couple people contacted me because they know I come here, and they asked me to report on 2 sinkholes. One was on the intersection of Linden Street and Prescott Avenue, the northwest corner. They said there's a sinkhole. And then there was Also, there is also a large one in front of the White House near the alley in the 1500 block of Linden Street on the odd side. Now, I didn't see these. These are things that people had asked me about. Now, I know you all got my stuff with the sidewalks on the other side of the street. And I want to talk about my street. My street is the 400 block of Colfax. I think I have one street light on the whole street. On the opposite side where the hospital bought, there are no telephone poles at all except on each corner. And then on my side, we have them, and I saw one light shining, but I don't see any. Somebody said they might be out and just get the pole number, but I don't see any lights, so I'm not sure if there's actually even lights on them. But it's very, very dark on that street when you're walking, and that's why how I noticed again the sidewalk was not fixed, because I got stuck in it. It was dark, and I was coming down with the dogs from the park, and I got stuck in the, what do you call it, all the broken up concrete. And I went to go around onto the grass like I usually have to do with my flashlight on that I use for picking up after my dog to make sure I didn't step in anything. And the rocks were now on the grass. So on that side of the street, it's very difficult to walk. And on the other side, the side I live on, we still have the problem with the 421 Colfax Avenue abandoned house that has been on the demolition list. And that's hard to walk around also onto the grass because there's all kinds of broken sidewalk and chunks of concrete on the grass. So unless you walk down the middle of the street, it's kind of a problem to walk anywhere on the 400 block of Colfax Avenue, which is pretty sad. So I still don't really fully understand what's going on with 421 because it's been on the list, and then they say the guy puts a lawsuit against the city for tearing it down. But isn't there something? I know they talked about the conservatorship, but I mean, there's so many woodland creatures in there. And now summer's coming again, and I'm really worried about a fire. If it ever catches on fire, it's going to be a mess. So that's basically all I wanted to say about the 400 block of Colfax. I'm hoping, though, maybe they could just send somebody up like that to take just a look to see about the lights and see if there's just a reason that there's no lights there. I mean, how many lights are usually on a block on this telephone pole? I don't remember. When my kids were little, we used to say, when the street lights go on, come home. They wouldn't be able to, because they wouldn't know when to come home now because there's no street lights to go on. So it would be nice if somebody could just look into that. Thank you.
Frank,
have a good night.
Send that down to the admin.
I made note of it. I'll take care of it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Tom Coyne.
Tom Coyne, Manuka. First, a request from one of our viewers at home. Is it possible that we could get a street sign on Schlager and Summer Avenue? Evidently, they had one there at one point, but the signs are now missing. So they'd like someone to go out there and replace the signs on that street. Moving on. I'm glad the sidewalk down the block here is fenced off. February 11th of 2025, I actually came before this body and brought to the attention that the building was undercut. You could see into the basement, and I wasn't sure if there was a vault or not underneath it, but there was obviously way for water, and you could see the side structure starting to crumble away. Three doors down from license and inspection, and it took a year to get a fence up and a year to figure out that the sidewalk was a hazard. It's fenced off because the sidewalk is unsafe, yet it took a year for 3 blocks for it to be inspected properly. Moving on, I want to talk about the harb on 7th order that was tabled, and explain further in a shorter version and I presented to council by email. What appears to be one issue before council tonight is actually two separate decisions, and they should not be confused. First, the Harb decision. Harb denied the request to demolish the building in the historic district and replace it with a parking lot. They did so because the applicant failed to provide structural documentation, because demolition would create a gap in the historic district and because a parking lot is not compatible with the historic charter, nor is it allowed in the zoning of that area. Under Harb's authority, the applicant did not meet its burden of proof, so that denial should stand. The second issue is public safety. If the structure is truly deteriorating and has an undermined sidewalk, or it has created a hazard, that is not a Harb question, it's a public safety issue. Under Section 6.3a of the Home Rule Charter, Council has the authority to act to protect the health and safety of the public, including ordering an emergency inspection and action if necessary. So again, this is not one issue, it's two. So first, I would recommend that you uphold the Harb decision. Second, Council needs to address any genuine safety hazards separately under Council's public safety purview. Keeping those two decisions separate protects both the historic process and public safety. Now moving on to earlier tonight's presentations. Social contract was in, and again we have an organization who is planning to plan. They say that after 2 years, they're getting a plan together when the original plan that they presented didn't even include talking to the school district. They did it based upon other regions without even looking at this area itself. And they presented it to council as if it was an in-depth study of all the stakeholders, and they didn't even bother to talk to the school district. Now we're looking to fund in the future another nonprofit to do what they were hired to do in the first place, not to analyze it, but to help make changes. And the only change they are making is we're putting together a board paid by the public who has no publicly appointed board members who are going to move forward to do something eventually, and you'll get that plan later. Something's wrong with that whole calculus. It was full of buzzwords. I've heard those before. It's the same as Rubicon. I've heard it before. It sounds like the unsheltered task force. We're going to do something for the unsheltered eventually. And last is the pilot. We hired them for the tax-free review. We didn't hire them for the county. They need to come before this body here and explain where they are. We don't need to know if the county has paperwork outstanding they sent out. We need to know why they haven't acted in the best interests of the city and its people. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address council? Okay.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I.
Are you a resident of the city of Scranton?
I was formerly.
Okay. You let me know that you were originally from Dunmore, but where are you resident? Where do you reside right now?
Actually at the Holiday Inn in Scranton.
Okay. The public comment is reserved for residents and taxpayers, so we won't be speaking tonight. Fifth order?
Okay, is that city council?
Yes.
Okay, how long has that been in place?
For quite some time. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments at this time?
Yes, I do. I wanted to speak to something that's come up a few times tonight, last week. Over the years, we've had people come to speak about the homeless problem in Scranton, and many who... Okay. Okay, also perhaps if people weren't talking in the background, that would help. So over the years, we've had many people come to speak about the homeless problem in Scranton.
Excuse me.
And many of who are homeless themselves. And I am very sympathetic towards those people who have come to speak. I think it's very brave of them. I appreciate them expressing their frustrations with the lack of resources and services that we have in the city. And I want to do everything that we can as a city to be helpful towards that. I have been a part, as it keeps getting pointed out, I have been a part of the Unsheltered Task Force, but I'm not the one who runs it. The mayor does. It's a collaboration between multiple agencies, community organizations within the city that are doing the work. I do think it would be great if we had an option to have a committee, an ad hoc committee that does include some community members, because I know we've had many who have expressed wanting to do more and wanting to help, or those who have helped and are really interested in helping us to solve this problem. So that will be a suggestion of mine to the mayor and to the task force. Thank you. I'm not aware of a new shelter being created, but I know that has been a part of the conversations in the past. Unfortunately, that would take a great deal of funding and staffing, so those are problems to solve for in order to create such a shelter. I mean, we'd want it to be something that's sustainable, and I don't know that it could be city-run. Even now, our Code Blue shelter, even though we provide a place for it, we have Catholic Social Services helping to staff that that shelter. And I think it's still something very important that needs to be addressed. I don't want to brush it off as something that's not possible or isn't an urgent need for many. I'm open to any and all suggestions about how we solve this problem together. I did want to make note and provide a number of resources tonight that are available within the city to any who are wondering or not aware. I know it was made as a statement last week about there only being 6 beds available for women within all of Lackawanna County. I do want to explain what resources are out there. So first off, the Code Blue shelter that I mentioned that many do know about, that's held at Weston Fieldhouse, and that is during the wintertime when temperatures reach below 20 degrees, or if there's a significant amount of snow, like snow predictions of 12 inches or more, that would prompt that Code Blue shelter to open. And the shelter that is open throughout the year at night is St. Anthony's Shelter, and that's run by Catholic Social Services, and that was the one that was mentioned last week. They've been around for a long time. I've been inside the facility before. It is quite small. I believe they are able to accommodate 20 men and 6 women each night. I'm not sure why it's divvied up that way between men and women, but I just know that's what they have available, and I think that's been the same for quite a while. The Community Intervention Center is the day shelter that a lot of people utilize and go to, and when Keystone Mission was around and active, they also, I think, acted as a day shelter. There's St. Joseph's Center has the Walsh Manor, and this provides emergency housing for pregnant women specifically, and help with transitional housing for them, parent training, things like that. That houses up to 4 women. And then there's the Women's Resource Center. Although they don't have specific housing, they do help women and children to find immediate housing, those who are fleeing domestic dating, sexual violence, stalking, or human trafficking. the NEPA Youth Shelter. They have an after-school program specifically for high school students between ages 14 and 19. They also are able to help with finding emergency housing for those between the ages of 18 and 21, those with an immediate need. And that's actually a board that I'm happy to serve on and be a part of. And then there's also United Neighborhood Center, which helps specifically with transitional housing support, as well as a whole lot of other things. And then, actually, I believe I'd be remiss without mentioning the Catherine McCauley Center, too, which I had mentioned last week. They had a recent merger with the Friends of the Poor, and they're located at 430 Pittston Avenue, and that's the shelter that has housing for just for women and children. So I know that they have maybe a couple dozen beds. I've also visited there before and gotten to see and hear about the programs that they have to offer there. So I know that that's a really great resource for women. So a lot of these that I mentioned, there's different ways of finding them. There's the Lackawanna County Coalition for Housing, and they have a great list of information, such as what I mentioned, also through the county government website, and then even through the state. So there are resources out there. I would like to have some more information or links to these pages through our city website, because I feel like people who are residing in the city or would like to find out through the city where they can go. That might be like a first stop. So I want to make sure that we have that information available too. So I would like to make that request of the administration.
I'll take care of it, Dr. Rothchild.
Thank you. And that's all I have to address with regards to that for now. There is something that I had asked about last week that I just wanted to make mention that I've received a response to, and that's and I was asking about the list for 2026 for demolitions, if that was available, and there were several properties I've been asking about for a long period of time. Some that I've been told in the past have been on the demolition list, then possibly taken off. And I was informed that the city's OECD team is in the process of developing final demolition list for 2026 of the properties council has asked about at this time. 231, 233 Harrison Avenue is currently considered for demolition. Council should note that demolition of the property was stopped by a court injunction last year, but follow-up is needed. And then the two other properties, 429 Prescott and 526 Mulberry, those have been condemned but have not been considered for demolition as of this time. So I'd like them to reconsider those properties and once again get a list of, once they do develop the 2026 list, to see what is currently on there and if there's any input that that council or the public could provide in the development of that list too, because I think we hear about many of these properties and see them in our neighborhoods too, and would like to give input. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sean McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
Yeah, I have a few. First, we got an update from the administration regarding the Fidelity building inspection. They said it is complete finally, and they said they would have a discussion with us in executive session to review the inspection and also the floor plans of what they want to make into the building. Now, I understand having an executive session to talk about the floor plans. We're going to have police officers in there, and that's a safety security issue. I completely agree with that. I do disagree with speaking and reviewing the inspection in executive session. That's something that council should get and the public should be able to see, because it's taxpayers' dollars that's going into buying this building. Hopefully everything's fine with the building, but again, we need to see it and the public needs to see it. I did ask Frank to request by the end of the day on Friday a copy of it. As of now, we still have not received it. We sent another update, I think yesterday. Frank's
That's correct.
Still no answer.
We'll follow up again.
Appreciate that. It's frustrating when things are available for us to review, but we don't get them in a timely manner, because now we know the deal is going to be completed soon. So hopefully going forward, they'll have some more respect for us as a council to get us the information so we could review it. Next, the unsheltered task force. I requested a list of who's on the task force. Administration gave us an updated one, so I appreciate them giving me an updated list. But there's close to like 50 people on this. I mean, sometimes when there's so many people on a board or a task force, it's hard to get things done. So I'm going to start possibly reaching out to these individuals, asking how their experience is on it, what is some feedback that they can provide us regarding what transpires there. And I think it's possibly something we need to look into as a council of creating our own committee or something and taking the initiative to see what we can do to get things done. It's another board or a committee that's been put together for years, and what are the results? You know, what are the goals they have too as well? So we need to get some more information from them. I know Bancroft was brought up about being used. That has been discussed with the school district a few times a couple years ago. Unfortunately, you can't use Bancroft because there's a ventilation issue. So that's one reason why they're not students in there right now. On top of that, it's been used for storage for the last 3 or 4 years, so it's going to take a lot of money to get that up and running if the school district wanted to use it for anything.
No, sorry.
No.
Back to Mr. McAndrew.
No showers at Bancroft. Next, I spoke with Police Chief Carroll in the hallway. I also sent him an email regarding the safety assessment of City Hall. I was told that there's a document. I agree we should not have a copy of the document, but I'm going to be sitting down with him to review it. I have a lot of questions on some of the decisions that have been made with locking the front doors and the reasons for that. And truly, is that safe? I think there should be an armed guard at the door. I think there's, locked doors don't do much, but I think I would like to see who created the plan and what the plan entails and make sure this building is as safe as possible for our residents and open to the public. Every other municipality in this area is open to the public when they need to come in, so that'll be hopefully reported back on soon. And then finally, I do have some questions regarding the digital billboard on 320 Mulberry Street. I know my understanding was originally the Harbor Board denied it, and then it got brought to the previous council, and they upheld the Harbor Board's ruling. Now my understanding is the city has settled, and now it's approved, and they have a permit for it. So I guess my question, Mr. Gilbride, if you can reach out to the legal department to say what happened there, why did they settle, and provide us some information why now they have a permit and they're able to put up these digital billboards. I think this is some more information because we're the ones who the residents contact most, or they come here to speak. The mayor and her administration don't have meetings like we do and allow residents to come speak and ask questions. So when we get these questions asked, we need answers. And these is sometimes they need to be a little bit more proactive. So going forward, when they have settlements in general, can they please provide us some information so in case we do get questions, we're able to provide those answers as soon as possible. And another part of this billboard, I believe, I was told that the original billboard never even had the proper permits to be built. And that was probably back in 2014, 15, I'm not even sure. But Frank, can we look into the original permits that were awarded to the original billboard and see if there actually were permits? And then what is the ramifications if a structure or something was built without permits and everything?
I'll do that, sir.
All right, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mark McAndrew, any questions or any motions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple. So I'm going to report out on inquiries I presented last week. I asked for an update on the status of the Elm Street Bridge project, and PennDOT reports that the project is on schedule with the completion date projected mid-July, 2026, so that's good to hear. I'm sure people will be thrilled to hear that. So regarding the limited number of beds for women at overnight shelters for the unsheltered, Mr. McAndrew asked that the administration may advise the number of beds for each women at each venue and additional beds may be considered. And I also asked for an update on the next scheduled homeless task force meeting and any progress by the committee. So to answer the first question, the city is aware of 6 beds reserved for women at St. Anthony's Haven, which is a space operated solely by Catholic Social Services. Scranton's Code Blue Shelter at Western Field for which the city provides venue that is staffed by CSS does not restrict the number of beds reserved for women. We have provided space as many as 19 women in a single evening on an average of 9 women each time the Code Blue shelter has opened for extreme weather conditions in 25 and 26. All right, so, it's another issue we talked about in caucus. The public needs to be aware, education and awareness. That information needs to get out, and that's up to the task force to figure out how to put it out there. So I also asked for an update of the task force. So the next meeting of the Unsheltered Task Force is April 29th. In the 112 days from November 10th to March 2nd, the city has hosted 70 Code Blue emergency shelters at Western Field, operated by Castle Social Services. On those evenings, Weston hosted an average of 31 persons in need, 23 males on average and 9 females on average, when the city experienced deep freezing temperatures in early February. Weston Field reached its maximum capacity of 50 unhoused persons twice, with 34 men and 16 women on February 5th, and with 31 men and 19 women on February 7th, by comparison. The St. Anthony's Haven Shelter, which is operated nightly by CSS, whether or not Code Blue exists, was open 79 days from November 10th to March 2nd, serving an average of 18 people per night, 13 of whom were male and 5 females on average. So, with that said, I was great. I'm very proud to meet you tonight in the back, that you're a champion. You live, eat, it's unfortunate, but you live, see, and eat homelessness every day because of their proximity where you live. And I applaud your efforts, and what you do for them is honorable and admirable. Thank you. Well, no, so I believe recognizing people when they deserve. Okay, so, and the poor, I'm still sick to my stomach of the poor young woman who was here last week. And I was embarrassed and disgusted to say I didn't know this information to provide to her. Initially it was 6 beds only, but you brought up some key points. This young lady did too. She's just trying to survive. But we have this unsheltered or homeless task force. How many members did you say, Mr. McAndrew?
Close to 50.
50. I mean, 50 minds, 50 ideas, something has to come together. So I know we've asked in the past, and we never got a straight answer, because some people who are homeless, or other people, residents, because I don't know how the task force was selected, but I'm hearing it's mostly nonprofits, which is fine. They have some expertise, that's their wheelhouse. But like I said, you experience it every day, the issue, right? The poor young lady lives it every day, God bless her. I believe women like you and her should have a seat at the table, all right? They need your perspective. Like I said, the home, I mean, okay, but the other organizations, I get it. They bring value and expertise, but, they don't live it. I mean, I'd rather hear from someone the needs and interest, if I was on that committee, from people actually experiencing this. So I know we asked in the past if these people could have a seat at the table. We didn't get a straight answer. I don't know if we got, we'll look into it. So I'm going to ask again. Considering, what's been going on and people that are coming forward to us, we have to help. We got to do better, like I said last week. So I would request that these ladies would have a seat at the table. All right? I know there's a way, someone forwarded me some information on a way to contact the young lady who was here last week. So I'm not sure if she'd want to be part of that, but I think she should be offered it, to say the least. All right?
I'll reach out tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Update on the Yeshiva School on Hickory Street. People ask me about that. Council should note that the project is not a city project. That's fine, but it's in the city. The contract will provide the following update this week as a courtesy. The two-story old building will be demolished in the next 2 weeks. Once demolished, they will start replacing sidewalks and curbs around building and finish the landscaping. Total time, 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm sure the person who's concerned is watching right now, and if not, I'll forward her this information. So Last week, I brought up the telephone poles that remain after they install new ones. And then I did a little research, and they're called ghost poles, right? And during that meeting, when I brought them up, because Mr. Schuster's been bringing this up for as long as he's here, and unfortunately to no avail. So I asked the question, what's the policy? Do we have one regarding the side-by-side utility poles at some same location being erected throughout the city? And during the meeting, like I said, someone texted me and said, there's 3 ghost poles at one location on the corner of Everett and Pettibone. So how long have they been there? These are safety issues. These should be taken care of. So, so the response I got from the city is, in Pennsylvania, side-by-side telephone poles, also called W-utility poles, fall under the regulatory authority of the Pennsylvania Public Utilities Commission, PUC, which oversees poles attachments to utility poles, ducts, conduits, rights-of-way, etc. So I took a little deeper dive, and right now there is legislation that passed in the House. Let me see. So the legislation aims to eliminate common sight of old poles lingering next to new ones by mandating a structure removal process. It's a PUC oversight, so that's who we have to complain to. I would hope the city would join us with that. There should be removal deadlines, all right, civil penalties, a central registry of the poles and the new ones, and ratepayer protection. So if they start removing them, they shouldn't pass the cost on to us. So why these poles linger, before this legislation, there were no state laws mandating it, all right? So I get it, sometimes if people aren't going to, step up, or companies aren't going to step up and do what's right unless they're forced to, and it's unfortunate. And the utility companies, God, PUC should help us out here, because they have no problem with increased rates constantly, whether it's water or gas or electric. So the current status of House Bill 825, which is referred to now, is the most current version of this bill. And it's moved to adopt the federal FCC amendments and law. Okay, so we're waiting on the Senate to take care of this, all right? So we keep our eye on this. So my question, Solicitor Gilbride, is, do we wait for this legislation and try to hammer it and force it as a city? Or, hey, we can develop our own ordinance with these utility companies. Is that something we can explore?
Ordinarily with utility companies, that is something that's controlled by the state, but I'll look into it to see if in fact there's any,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but also when I was doing a little research, some cities have their own ordinance. So, like I said, just explore this for me. It was something to find out that the state's working on it too, but we should look into that and follow up on this, because if not, 3 years from now, we're going to be saying it again. And I hate when we have to do that. All right, next up, what else did I have? I don't want to miss this here. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Flynn, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I'll start off by also addressing the homelessness issue that's happening in the city of Scranton, and I want to echo some sentiments. Thank you for coming tonight and discussing your experience with it. This is something that I've been talking about from the moment I got on the council. From lived experience, I'm not ashamed to say I'm a person in long-term recovery from addiction. I have been for 11 years. I'm one of the lucky ones. My family always stood by my side, or I would have been homeless. So I come at this from both lived experience, but a bunch of empathy for individuals who get to that point. And I understand the stigma around homelessness and around addiction and mental health issues, and how that drives individuals further into that despair. And we need to change the narrative around that. I brought up numerous times around the Code Blue shelter, bringing resources into there to meet individuals where they're at. Individuals could be coming into a Code Blue shelter and be caught in a moment of vulnerability or willingness to get some of the help they may need. And why not have some services there to maybe try to map them into whether it be mental health services, addiction services, or figure out, maybe tomorrow you could go to place A and start working on some resume building, or trying to figure out how to talk in an interview about those large gaps in unemployment history because you're homeless and dealt with addiction for so many years, right? And all those different things that we could be doing. I hit a few snags along the way in these discussions and asking these questions. My next step is I'm going to go and meet with the director of the CIC in Scranton, as well as the fire chief. And one of their concerns was potentially, I don't want to say definitely, but potentially that if individuals think that someone's going to be trying to provide them services they don't want in an emergency shelter situation, they may not come. And that's an issue. But my belief is the more touch points you could have with individuals, the better. And you always have to get, I'm not saying run up to someone as soon as they come in and say, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this, but have it there in a more passive way to be there, because I believe the homeless shelters are a wonderful thing that we need to have, but it's only a stopgap measure. How do we get individuals onto a path of self-sustainability? That's the real win here. So I appreciate you coming in. I won't stop working on this, fighting for those individuals. So thank you for that. Another thing, I just got a message from a constituent, Mr. Voldenberg. At the corner of Madison and Poplar, there's overgrown trees and brush that are becoming a safety hazard. If we could have DPW go out and look at that, I would appreciate it, for maybe some trimming or whatever else may need to be done.
I will.
Thank you. And then, shockingly enough, I'm going to be talking about utility companies and pave cuts in Greenridge. So just yesterday, we had a situation where the gas company and their contractors came and began digging directly in front of people's driveways without giving the residents any sort of notice whatsoever for the ability to get their cars out before they start. So people woke up, came out of their homes, and suddenly they couldn't access their own driveways. I had a resident reach out in the 1600 block of Wyoming Avenue, which I've been talking about ad nauseum, and they sent me pictures, and the best way I could describe it is that a moat was dug in front of her driveway, right? About a 3 to 4 foot gap between her driveway and the street. That's utterly unacceptable. Basic communication with residents should be the bare minimum expectation when work like this is being done. It also ties into a broader issue that I've been raising since mid-January, the condition of pave cuts throughout the city. I specifically brought up the failing pave cuts on Electric Street months ago. Here was the direct response that I got back from the administration after I asked a question at our January 27th meeting. They said the city is aware of these issues and has been in direct contact with relevant utilities many times over the past few weeks. Inspectors have been sent out to specific areas where restoration has failed. Since these issues in Greenridge have become known, we have moved our monthly meetings with the water and gas companies to bi-weekly to ensure safe and passable road conditions and flag areas directly needing attention. Yet here we are nearly 2 months later, and the situation on Electric Street has not been touched. So I will now go to my question from last week was, what is the timeline and process for pave cuts? Someone calls one in, failing pave cut to 311 or through whatever medium they choose. The pave cut inspector goes out, they realize it's failing, and they reach out to the utility company, and the utility company comes and fixes it. From start to finish, what is that process? So the response I got, and bear with me, I'll read it verbatim. Failing pave cuts reported are flagged via email or phone to the respective utility depending on severity. This is done typically within 3 days of report. Utilities have been very responsive to this method. For instances in which the utility is not responsive, the city has a formal violation letter that could be issued. This mandates a 5-day restoration deadline, or they will be fined $1,000 per day. Repair timelines vary significantly based on weather, material availability, and excavation size. Restoring a pavement cut is a complex operation that often requires 4 or more crews at a single site. Even a temporary patch involves a heavy logistical lift. Excavating tools such as jackhammers, vac trucks or excavators, dump trucks for hauling fill, a crew for spreading and tamping, and final compaction using a vibratory plate are all necessary to get the job done. Permanent restorations are even more labor intensive and involve additional steps. So on January 27th, they were having conversations bi-weekly, pave cut inspectors were going out, and now the way I read this, and the public could make their own decisions, is now they're making excuses for the utility companies as to why this isn't being done. But our residents see this every day. They drive over these failing patches that sink, break apart, create unpassable conditions. When people ask why they haven't been fixed, the explanation we hear is often the weather. The temperatures or conditions aren't right for proper patching, which I understand, but somehow the weather is never a hindrance when it comes time to dig the hole up in the first place. If the conditions are good enough to open the street, then we should be holding these companies to the same standard when it comes to restoring the roadway properly and promptly. At the end of the day, these are our streets and our residents who are dealing with the consequences. We need better coordination, better communication with homeowners, certainly, because the resident that reached out to me could not get out of her house all day with her car because she was moated in. And accountability needs to happen to make sure that when utilities cut into our roads, they leave them in acceptable conditions. So, Mr. Voldenberg, this has been an issue now I'm seeing with UGI for a little while now, especially the lack of communication with homeowners and residents on some of this expansive work they're doing. If my council members would agree with me, I'd love to try to get UGI to come in for a caucus to answer some questions that council might have.
I'd agree as well.
So if we could try to schedule that with UGI to come in,
I'll
that would
contact them in the morning.
That would be great. And so, you know, I just hope at some point, this has been going on for months, we get some answers, we hold the utility companies accountable, and maybe it's time to start actually putting into effect some of these violation letters and restoration deadlines that the city says we have at our disposal. So that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I might be shorter than some of the other members up here. One, to address our data center ordinance. It is going to be re-advertised this week, and it will be on our March 17th agenda for council to introduce. So there was some confusion there, but it will be re-advertised this week, and it will be on the 17th agenda. In regard to pave cuts, on the 24th of March, we have Pannoni, the third-party pave cut inspector, coming into a caucus here to speak to council. In preparation for that, as among the other questions that we have about pave cuts, can we get a 2-year list of how many pave cuts we have identified as a city, how many are completely completed, and then how many of those are pending or still pending?
I'll get that information.
Thank you very much. And if we could just ask, our own city database that we had to track those pave cuts, did we turn that list over to the new company when they came in, or what that process was?
I'll ask that also.
Thank you very much. The next thing is I had asked for an update on Pell's 5-year plan. So we're going to be getting an updated 5-year financial analysis from Pell, and the city plans to an anticipated date of early April. So I'm really curious to get that 5-year plan, see what the projections are in terms of finances for the city. We have a lot of moving numbers moving into next year. We're losing some of the tax base from the hospital. We have some city expansion on the expenditure side of our budget, and I'm really curious to see what those finances are going to look like and what they're projected out. Last thing I have is, Mr. Voldenberg, we had a petition for St. Francis Cabrini Ave. We had a street light that was, the neighbors there petitioned to come in.
For the vacant lot? Okay.
Yeah, we did receive that. Can we just, the business administration just asked if we could resend that petition over to them for that area?
I will.
All right, thank you very much. That's all I have for tonight.
5B for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to request funding from Lackawanna County's Arts and Culture Department in support of the county's America 250 PA initiative.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B introduced to its proper committee.
So, second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to submit a grant application for a PennDOT Green Light Go program in the amount of $402,220 to be used towards upgrades at the intersection of Providence Road and Albright Avenue.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, it's great to see another one of these Green Light Go programs occurring in the city. This one is in the amount of $402,220,000. A couple of these projects have been completed, and it's great to see this work moving forward. All those in favor of introduction signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, Resolution number 24, 2026, reappointment of Doris Koloski as a member of the Scranton Human Relations Commission for a term expiring February 23, 2031.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Oops, sorry. As chairperson of the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes, I hereby declare 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for adoption, Resolution number 26, 2026, amending Resolutions 180 of 2019 and 180 of 2025 to allow the Multimodal Transportation Fund awards of $1,110,200, project ID as noted, and $1,395,860, project ID as noted, respectively, to be used for the replacement of the Myrtle Street Bridge project.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question? On the question, this is a project that we have the Myrtle Street and Ash Street bridges that are to be replaced. They're on the list to be replaced. This one here is the Myrtle Street Bridge. The funding was originally secured for the Ash Street Bridge, but they did an inspection and they deemed that the Myrtle Street Bridge was in more need. So that funding has been transferred over to the Myrtle Street Bridge as being in a greater need prior to the Ash Street completion. So this bridge here on Myrtle Street is going to be replaced. After that, Myrtle Street is going to be replaced. Anyone else on the question? Roll call, please.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, Resolution number 27, 2026, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Clifton Larson Allen LLP to perform independent audit and single audit services.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes, I hereby declare 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D, previously tabled, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution number 25, 2026, accepting the recommendation of the Historic Architectural Review Board and denying the certificate of appropriateness for Fidelity Bank, 101 North Blakely Street, Dunmore, Pennsylvania 18512, for demolition of the Mattes Law Office Building at 324 North Washington Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania 18503.
I make a motion to amend item 7D to read, denying the recommendation of the Historic Architectural Review Board and leaving the rest of the text the same.
Second.
On the question,
Mr. President, on the question, Mr. Flynn, in looking at the language, you would also have to change from denying the certificate of appropriateness to allowing that certificate. So that would require a friendly amendment by yourself and Mr. McAndrew.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You would need to change the language with regard to denying the certificate of appropriateness to allowing that certificate as well.
Okay, so I make another motion to change denying the certificate of,
A friendly amendment.
a friendly amendment to change denying the certificate of appropriateness to allowing the certificate of appropriateness.
And do we have a second?
Is that agreeable to you, Mr. McAndrew, since you second it? Now you can vote the bill.
Thank you. On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it and so moved. What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7D as amended.
Second.
On the question?
Yeah, on the question, Mr. Gilbride, just can you explain to everybody listening that if we deny it, that means they are able to tear down the building? And is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. One reason why I'll be voting in favor for denying it and letting them tear down the building is a safety issue. We've heard from business owner, from Fidelity workers themselves that the facade was falling down. There's sidewalk issues. So to me, it is a safety issue, and safety always comes first. I was a little unhappy to hear when they were at the HARB meeting that if it wasn't approved, that they were just going to let it sit there and fall, be taken down. And also hearing today from the owner of Abe's that he had to shovel their sidewalks, I think, during the storm. So not happy to hear that. I hope going forward they'll take care of their property, but at the end of the day, this is a safety issue for our residents, and I'm going to be in favor of tearing it down for the safety.
Yep.
Anyone else on the question?
On the question, yeah, I had a conversation last week with the owner of Abe's. I wasn't sure which way I was going. Got a lot of insight from him from that conversation as to the impact that it's having on his business. I believe the business that is impacted the greatest by this structure, the Madison building, is Abe's. So hearing him in favor of the demolition of this building had an impact on me. I also reviewed the report from Ruther and Bowen in its entirety. I personally do not believe that this building has the possibility of any sort of rehabbing. I received numerous calls on this issue. Not one of those calls I received was in favor of keeping this building. Every single call I received was in favor of the demolition of it. So for those reasons, I will be voting in favor of demolishing the building.
Roll call.
Okay, go ahead.
No. On the question?
Yeah, on the question. So as chairman for the Committee on Public Safety, that's my committee, and after listening to individuals here that, are affected by it and testified to the safety issue, and because it's an immense safety issue, my decision is a safety issue outweighs the desire for the HARB boards. There is a preservation, so that's why I'll be voting yes to deny.
Thank you. I might as well speak to it as well on the question. I could, echo some of the sentiments here. A lot of the feedback that I received, whether it be here in public comment or out on the streets or calls, we're all in favor of demolition of the building. So I'll say all the feedback that we received as a council as a whole, I would say we're going in that direction. Anyone else on the question?
Yes, on the question, I'm in agreement with my colleagues on this. I also understand that it's a safety issue and that the building is likely to have to be demolished either way. So we'll let Fidelity go ahead and do that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes.
Mr. Sean McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Mark McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D as amended, legally and lawfully adopted. All right, this resolution was taken from the table and placed in seventh order for final vote this evening. And if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.